Gemini, this is your reading for the entire year of 2024. Because it's for a year, I'm focusing on major issues. I will probably look at sort of the impact of world events on you. Because they have been impacting all of us. Now, although I picked up on them as they were occurring, it was last year when there was sort of a realisation by people of the magnitude of what has gone on and how that's affected our psychology. You see, tarot only sort of points to energies that impact on our psychology. And we have free will. So, we can go with the good bits, or we can completely ignore them, to be honest. But it's better to go with the flow, but go with those bits that suit you the best and reject those bits that don't. So it's not fortune telling. It's digging into your own psychology and what you make of it. And I know at times I do sound like I'm telling you fortune, and forgive me. But these are big issues we're talking of. And you certainly, we look at that middle card, the Nine of Wands, you're certainly looking back at the past. Looking back at what has hurt you and how that has shaped your life. To a certain degree, it can also be looking at what you've done right and also saying, well, I've been here before, I can get out of it. But I think like most of us, you look to the past as a golden age, an age when you had many blessings, probably monetary blessings, quite possibly also families, but blessings of every shape and kind. Right now, there's cause for celebration. Could be celebration with friends. And that's not such a bad thing to do. But the future sees you going inside yourself and looking for answers. Again, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing to be doing, especially in these troubled times. There is more trouble ahead. We have the Death card. It's an ending. I suspect that it's a bit like the Tower card. It's a necessary ending. The universe is bringing an end to something that you perhaps feel comfortable with. But as a result of this ending, it will lead you to something better. However, there are two ways that it could go. The first way is to focus on what is revealed through this ending. And maybe you seek justice, or justice comes. So you could be looking for retribution for how you've been harmed. Is this retribution for how we've all been deceived? How greed has taken over the world and you seek retribution for it? Or maybe you see it entirely personally. But what the universe is saying is, if you leave that in the hands of the universe, or God, Allah, see it more as a judgment than justice, karmic if you like, then I think things will play out much better for you. So instead of going back to the Nine of Wands, looking back at what has gone wrong, seeking retribution, or focusing on the past, maybe focus on the fact that you've been through hard times and you've got through them, and put your faith in the universe, in God, in Allah. Have I got this right? Well, stick around and let's see. "2024 is going to be a year for you of reminiscing. A year of looking back. To a certain degree, looking back isn't a very positive thing to do. We should always live for the current. But, looking back is natural. And there's two ways that you could be doing this looking back. One is looking back and saying, oh, that went wrong, this went wrong. Oh, did they do that to me? Gosh. I'll get them back for it, or, whatever. But looking back at things and being mournful about it. And for sure, if you do that, then the past will create the future. You could, however, say, well, things maybe aren't great now. If it is about global events, yes, we've all been deceived, we've all been lied to, almost certainly due to greed. But we must look forward. If we can change ourselves, we can change the world. So you could be saying, well, I've been here before, I've dealt with it before, and I'll deal with it again. So it could be positive or it could be negative. And this really is up to you. And this is what I mean about taking the energies. And you can either take them positively or negatively. And it really is up to you, Gemini. And one way in which I think we're all looking back to the past is looking back to the past as though it was a golden age. And I think objectively you can't argue with that. For you it was an age of blessings, an age of affluence, maybe a time when you had a family and you no longer have it, but a time of multiple blessings. But I think money is in your mind. And what happened to that wealth, that happiness that we all once had? Undoubtedly we're using rose-tinted spectacles, but as I say, we are objectively all a lot poorer. Objectively, we can point to the finger of why we're poorer and who has gained from making us poorer. But we shouldn't enter 2024 seeking retribution for it. No, we need to create our own world, and I'm certain that's what the universe is asking you to do. Probably at the beginning of 2024 sees you celebrating, probably with friends, some sort of a joyous occasion maybe, something that you have grounds to celebrate for. And that's no bad thing to be doing because of, as I say, if you look back with anger, as it were, then you will create anger. You will create not what you want in 2024. So if you can be joyous and have a good time, then it does create more joy. It does create better things in your life. So, whilst I don't know what you're celebrating, it might be misguided. Just celebrating itself is not a bad thing. So I'm not going to be critical of it. But later on in the year, sees you much more reflective, going inside yourself looking for answers. Is this entirely personal, or are you looking for answers about world events? Almost certainly the two are interlinked anyway, but you're searching for answers, and that's probably a very good thing to be doing at a time like this. But I do hope that you emerge from it more optimistic rather than pessimistic. Often the answers are inside ourselves. As I say, we can create a better world. So if we can understand, maybe even understand those things in the past that have led to some pessimism within you, then we can fix them. But I have to say that I think you seek retribution, which probably isn't the right way to do things. You should seek forgiveness, raise your own vibrations. But yes, please do meditate. Do try to understand the position you're in. Those of you who understand a bit about tarot might be saying, why is he being so pessimistic? And I'm not trying to sound pessimistic. But there are, I believe, some warnings coming up. And here we have one. And that is the Death card. Something comes to an end. Personally, I think it's got something to do with money, something to do with finances. So it's an end of something. Now, I actually suspect, as I said earlier, that this is a bit like the Tower card. It was something that was necessary for you to move on. But if you focus too much on the loss, too much on retribution, then it will lower your vibrations and things will get worse for you. So I don't think it's right to be focusing on what the loss is and how it occurred. And maybe that's well known because running through it is saying what has happened in the past. So focusing on what you lose, focusing on having lost things in the past, isn't going to help. If it's about global issues, as I say, we're all becoming more impoverished. The system is becoming so rigged that the common person can hardly live now in many countries. So if you can see it in that broader context, rather than simply personal, say to yourself, well, I've been in sticky situations in the past and got through it. Maybe I can this one. Now, what would change the outcome is the Judgment card. And that's interesting because the outcome is justice. So what's the difference? Well, the Judgment card is a day of judgment type of judgment. It's karma, if you like. It's about you accepting that whatever has gone wrong, be it personal or be it global, that it's in the hands of the universe. And we can see that there is karmic justice already occurring. Those responsible for having manipulated and lied to us are already getting their comeuppance. Okay, it's not major yet, but they are being exposed. It is beginning to happen. And I'm certain that this reading for 2024 Gemini is telling you, leave all of this in the hands of the universe, in the hands of God, Allah, whatever way you want to see it, but leave it in their capable hands, because they will receive their comeuppance. It's not really for you to worry about, because if you do, you'll only make yourself ill. You know you will. So just leave it in the hands of the universe, and I'm certain that's what this reading's about. And now the outcome I've already revealed to you. It is the Justice card. And it's more likely to be formal justice. It's more likely to be even a court case. And now, what I've discounted, and I'll tell you why in a second, but what I've discounted is that both the judgment and the justice is coming against you, things you've done wrong. And there's no doubt that the world's changed. And if you are guilty of some things, then certainly judgment is coming for you. The reason why I discounted it is it's death, an abrupt ending that leads to justice, whereas if it was against you, I would more expect justice to come before the abrupt ending. So, but it's always a possibility. But let us go on, that it's justice in your favour. Is it personal? Is it global? Does it even matter? Probably not. But let's talk as though it was global. Some of those responsible for the greatest manipulation are being brought to justice now. Some of those who told us that if we do this, it's perfectly safe, that you must do this for the sake of humanity, when really it was just for the sake of their profits. Well, there are court cases going on now. They're not reported much in the news, but they're going on right now, and people are being brought to justice. Of course, there's a famous island that a lot of people visited, and nobody's really being brought to justice for that yet. Nobody's really being brought to justice for warmongering. But it will start happening. It will start happening. But I'm pretty certain that this is saying, well, look, you'd be so much better if you just forgot about it. Live your own life. Live for the present. Don't think of the past. Don't think of the injustices. Just live your life and be happy, and you will achieve more happiness. Now, I don't want it to sound like this is a bad reading. Of course, we do have the death card, and it does feel like it's about money, but I don't know. But I don't think 2024 is a bad year. But I think, like so many of the other readings I've done for other signs, it could be better if you use these energies a little more skillfully. Now, some of you may know a bit about tarot, and some of you might be saying, Java, you've gone off on one here. How on earth have you got to this position? And let me tell you, I don't use astrology, nor do I consciously, I was looking for the word then, nor do I consciously channel. So I'm not doing those things. I just look at the cards and it comes to me. Probably because I meditate so much. But let's check if I'm right about this. And I think that it hinges on the death card. First card we get is the King of Pentacles. So it does suggest that it is an end to something to do with wealth. The next card is the Seven of Wands card, which is you, yes, scoring some victories, but making other people jealous. And finally we have the Four of Cups, which is you sort of you see is it a four? Yeah, Four of Cups, which is you sort of, it's a bit like being the Hermit, but it is somewhat pessimistic. Like the Hermit, it's not necessarily a bad thing to do, but you are missing opportunities. So I think I'm right in suggesting that you are taking a somewhat pessimistic view of all that's going on. So I think I'm right, but let's look at these all individually. And if you remember, we're talking about the Death card. And the first card of clarification is the King of Pentacles. He's a king that's good with money, good with finances, good with wealth. Almost like a financial advisor. Is it the death of you being like that? It could be. I suspect it's more that you lose money somehow. Well, you know, my own view, and it's not an uneducated view. You know, I did teach at a major business school, and when I look at all financial markets, they all appear to be inherently rigged. So there is no room for the small-time investor any longer. So, if you put your money in gold, we're always told put it in gold, and it doesn't follow a real logic. It looks a very rigged market. People have got monopolistic positions in it, and they can manipulate the market. And, it's Bitcoin. Well, I won't go into it, but, if you've invested in Bitcoin, and I know some people have made an awful lot of money, but I just can't see what utility there is in Bitcoin whatsoever. But, it could be anything. It could be anything that you've lost out on. It could be entirely personal. You might have trusted somebody. But I do think you have a financial loss here. I've been talking that it's as though it's institutional, although it's a global event you lose your money through. But I might be wrong, because we've got the Seven of Wands, which is you having scored some victories. Well, we often lose money when we get overconfident, so that might be all it means. But it's also a card of jealousy, as though somebody's jealous of you, and this financial loss has occurred through jealousy. Now, I might be reading too much into it, so I don't want to overemphasize that jealousy. But I think you have been a bit too confident in your ability, and that's the way these markets tend to work. Like Bitcoin, they reward you for taking risks, and you keep taking risks, then you lose a lot. Finally, we have this Four of Cups card. It's a bit like the Hermit, going inside yourself and looking for answers. But the difference with the Hermit is he's a little bit over-pessimistic. And that's a feeling I've been getting throughout this entire reading. I mean, of course, there was the celebration when maybe you were over-optimistic. But the feeling I've been getting is that you're a little pessimistic about some things. And, if you have suffered a financial loss, whether it be institutional, global, or something very personal, I'm certain you're being told don't dwell on it. Don't seek retribution, don't seek revenge. Allow the universe to deal with it. Because as you're wallowing in your misery, you're missing out on other opportunities. And I think that's a position we've all got into. We've been so downtrodden over the last few years that many of us believe nothing will work. And, despite me thinking that all markets are rigged, there's other ways to provide for ourselves and our families, aren't there? We don't have to put our money into this or that. We could put it into ourselves, into businesses that help our family, businesses that help the community. But anyway, that's enough of my soapbox. But yeah, there is this feeling throughout the entire reading that you're taking too pessimistic a view, despite what I believe is a financial loss that's going to occur. Pisces, 2024 is going to be what you make of it. There's a degree of pessimism that runs through it. And there's also a degree of nostalgia, looking at the past as a golden age, particularly a golden age in terms of wealth, I think. And let's not beat about the bush. You are going to suffer a financial loss in 2024. And I think you take it badly because you believe that you're quite astute and good financially. Maybe you got overconfident. Maybe somebody was jealous of you, but I think it's more likely to be global events. But what you mustn't do is take it too personally, too pessimistically. There's plenty of other opportunities for you. And I think the big issue is not to seek retribution, to allow the universe to do what it must do, because karma is already occurring, believe me. I mean, the beginning of the year sees you celebrating, and if only you can hold on to that sort of joyous celebration feeling, then I think you'll have a much better year. If you can also, instead of seeking justice, put it in the hands of the universe, in the hands of God, Allah. You can even say, Allah, I can't deal with this. Can you help me? And for sure, those who have defrauded you will get their karmic justice. It will happen. It's also a year whereby I think you look to the past, and you sort of say, oh yeah, that happened. Well, that wasn't very good. And you're allowing the past to create the future. Whereas also, you could be looking at the past and saying, well, I've been in sticky situations before. I've lost money before. And I've got through it. So you could be much more optimistic in the way you look at the past. And I think you need to go inside yourself and understand where this pessimism comes from. Because if you can identify why you're taking a pessimistic attitude, then I think you're halfway to changing your luck, as it were. I mean, it's not luck, You're raising your vibration, and as a result of raising your vibration, you'll attract good things into your life. It's as simple as that. But that's what you need to be doing, because 2024 really is what you make of it, Gemini. Please don't get too despondent, whatever happens, because I don't think this is a bad spread at all, but it could be, if you allow it to be.